7:50 at KNEB 960 AM, 100.3 FM. Time for News Extra. Brought to you by First State Bank, Scottsbluff and Ewing. Now here's Kevin Mooney.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Good morning, everyone. Our guest today, Senator John Stinner from the 48th Legislative District, and he's going to be over in Lincoln in another week or so. Actually, I'm sure he's going to be over there probably by the end of this week to get ready for the legislative session, especially as likely the chair of the Appropriations Committee. You mentioned on the other side, nobody else is challenging you. Nobody else probably will at a year like this.
Nobody else is dumb enough to do this job.
So you're probably it. So anyway, he's going to be a very busy guy come next week as they try to deal with all this deficit stuff in the budget. One of the first things you guys are going to do, though, is do the leadership votes. And obviously you'll probably be in quickly as the Appropriations Committee Chair, but there's the talk about changing the rules a little bit in the way you guys do this.
Well, normally we do adopt last year's rules as temporary so we can get started. But there has been some talk about what we call the transparency vote, which has to do with how we elect and making it a public vote of who we vote for chairs. And this is one that's politically charged. As I look at it, I'm looking at what tradition has served and the fact that we need to, as a body of 49, elect the best possible people that are out there. And certainly this would be something. We do everything on a transparency basis as it relates to votes. This would be something I think that might take that partisanship or nonpartisanship away from the legislature, and I just don't think we need to go in that direction.
Yeah. So this is more or less kind of a way to kind of get a little bit of partisanship in the leadership votes, and you'd like it to remain secret so the partisanship isn't a factor, right?
I think the nonpartisanship part of this trumps this transparency vote. I think that again, it's imperative that we put the appropriate people in the chair positions, and when you take some of that away, then you have 16, 17 people on the minority side of things that are Democrats, that are independent, that are libertarians away. It certainly builds that angst up. And I don't think that we want to go into session with a whole lot of that going on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about what you have to deal with right off the bat, and that's the budget, and it's like $800 and some million worth. And at least initially, you've got a couple of good things. Number one, the governor is going to present a deficit spending bill. It'll trim about $100 and some million from it, and Amazon has made a nice announcement for you guys as well, right?
Well, that was our Christmas present to the state, is Amazon. We won't know what those numbers are, but with them collecting online taxes, there was a bill coming by Senator Watermeyer that dealt with that. It was really kind of a Main Street bill. Your brick and mortar folks have to collect sales tax. Amazon and some of our online folks who don't have bricks and mortar in the state don't have to collect sales tax. So this kind of levels that playing field. I applaud Amazon for that. Obviously, we won't know those numbers, but Forecasting Board meets in February and then again in April. So we may be able to figure some of that into our forecast, which will help the biennium, possibly help this year. The governor, I think, intends on it in the second day of session dropping 3 bills. One of them deals with the cash reserve and utilizing that. He's going to try to true up this biennium budget that we're in with that's about $172 million deficit projected. He's trying to resolve that issue so that we actually have a pretty clean playing field and help going into the biennium. So the deficit spending bill will be part of it, and then the third part will be transfers in, transfers out. That will mean it's kind of a budget A, budget B. We will have to meet early, meaning that probably Monday or Tuesday of the next week, which we normally would have about 10 days to get into committee meetings, we will meet right away and start on that because it does have to have a hearing. We do need to do due diligence on that. Any changes or modifications will have to be made, brought to the floor, and then signed into law. And that will change the current budget. As I said, then the next budget will be Budget B, which is his budget on the biennium. So he'll drop that on Friday the 13th.
Okay. So, yeah, you guys will be real busy there at the very start and throughout the session trying to balance a difficult budget. All right, we'll talk more, go outside the budget right after this.
Hey, Nebraska, Dave Ramsey here. When I get asked where you should keep your money, for me it's a no-brainer. Locally owned community banks like First State Bank in Scottsbluff and Gering. They offer all the bells and whistles of the big banks, but with free checking that includes free e-statements, free online banking, and no-charge First mobile banking, free ATM transactions nationwide, and no monthly maintenance fees. First State Bank, Scottsbluff and Gering. Member FDIC.
All right, back on News Extra, State Senator John Stinner with us this morning. We've talked about the budget, the situation with the leadership votes coming up in the legislature. Let's talk about some of the things that you want to do in this session. One of the things, you're not introducing all that many bills, but some of the ones you've got in there are pretty important. This one regarding the Nebraska Tourism Commission to make representatives more geographic and to put some different folks on the Tourism Commission. Probably a good idea.
Well, I think it is. We've worked with tourism, different associations and different folks that will be affected by the bill. And what we're trying to do is geographically disperse the membership, but also bring in for outside members, meaning outside of tourism, kind of professional business people who have a vested interest and knowledge of their communities. That will help that corporate governance piece of that. There is some other tweaks in there, but I think it's a pretty good bill.
Yeah, and that way at least Western Nebraska knows they have at least one representative on this commission.
We will
right?
have a couple representatives, yes, and really Western Nebraska. I'm looking more toward the Panhandle as the Western Nebraska, and we are unique. We have some wonderful tourism features. Certainly, our sandhills needs to be represented. Very, very diverse and unique state.
All right, a couple of other things. You got one bill in there regarding renewal of government contracts that's already in the legislature, is right there for first reading. Explain what that bill does.
Well, I introduced it last time. It came out of committee unopposed, but it wasn't heard simply because of a lot of things got backlogged last year. So it's a reintroduction of a bill I had, and it really deals with state contracts. And what we're saying to agencies, you just can't renew more than one time on a contract. You have to go for outside bids. This came out over a long period of time. If you read the state audit report, this has been something that's been in there for a long period of time. It needs to get put into legislation so that we have some way of going back and saying, no, we need to go for independent outside bids.
Yeah, okay, and not renew a contract any more than once. All right, and then you have a thing to kind of allow or require some follow-up on management letters from the state auditor's office.
Yeah, again, I talked to the state audit people, and we work pretty close together, appropriations and state auditor. One of the things that is frustrating from the state auditor side is many times they'll issue management letter items, and there doesn't appear to be all that much follow-up. So as these agencies, as these commissions come in to appropriations with their request, they need to have some kind of follow-up. So we're going to be the body that takes a look at some of those management items to make sure that they've done the appropriate things.
All right. Real quick, tax reform, going to be difficult, right?
Anything that has to do with tax reform, I think there's going to be 2 or 3 bills that are going to be introduced on tax reform, different aspects of it, but it needs to be revenue neutral. Obviously, we don't have funding. There may be some bills that deal with future tax reform items, but I don't know what that's going to look like.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, good luck down there. And I know you're going to be very busy, and We just wish you the best over in Lincoln.
Thank you.
All right. State Senator John Stinner with us this morning on News Extra.